Rita Wilde here, broadcasting live with little Steven at the LA Sports Arena. Such a pleasure to see you again, Steven.
Good to see you, baby. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I saw the opening night in Pittsburgh, and what was so great about that night to me is I didn't listen to The River ahead of time because I wanted to feel what I felt back when it was released, 80, 81. And what I came away with was the fact of just how much you were involved with that album and tour and everything.
Yeah, I was the first one I co-produced, and it was at that point we decided we need to get somehow what we're doing live onto a record, and you don't realize it when you start, but you have to basically learn 4 crafts, not just one. It's like you have to learn how to play your instrument. You got to learn how to perform. You got to learn how to write songs, and you have to learn how to make records. And honestly, it took us 5 albums to learn how to make a record. And Bruce knew I'm a band guy, and Bruce knew, that I would, be very, very dedicated to that kind of thing. Getting what we're doing live onto the record somehow, and some of our, best arrangements and best songs. I mean, when you count the outtakes,
Yes.
wow, that's like 40, whatever it is, 43 of the best songs we've ever done, and so it was just, I'm not doing anything different, really, than I've done the last 40 years of touring, but a lot of people are commenting, I think, because, well, compared to the last tour, of course, it's only half the band that was here, So you take half as many people out of the PA system, you're bound to be a little bit more noticeable. I think it's partly that,
But also I noticed the camaraderie between you and Bruce, because I think most of our audience probably saw Bruce and the E Street Band with this tour, the River Tour. I think you did 10 dates here when it was released. And that's, you were a lot of a comic foil for Bruce at that time. I mean, you guys were inseparable. And that's that feeling that I really got seeing that show in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's really never changed, That's always been my role, sort of, the best friend, the straight man, or the Dean Martin or his Jerry Lewis, or the other way around. I don't know. I don't know who's who, but yeah. Well, and that's the other thing on that record, was the first time we decided to put all of the different moods, all of the different genres, so you have funny stuff for the first time, really. You have, it was out and out comedy. You have rock and roll. You have a lot of soul music for the first time. Which is really one of my favorite things about the record and this tour. Hearing I Want to Marry You and Fade Away and Drive All Night, which we do once per tour, usually, right? To do it every night has been really remarkable, because that's just among, the greatest records ever made, as far as I'm concerned, greatest songs ever written. The way we recorded it was one of the most magical, ridiculously, you couldn't have planned that in a million years. We're trying out a new studio, Atlantic Studios, very famous. A lot of stuff had been recorded on 60th or 61st, not there anymore. And I don't remember even rehearsing it. We must have sort of rehearsed it a little bit, but not much. I mean, we just sort of started playing it, and we all just started playing it, and we did it once, once, okay, and all those lyrics he made up. I swear to God. All right, I know it's impossible to believe, but he's just making up. He's making up those lyrics. You know, some make more sense than others, but you can make a great story out of what, you know, even the ones that are a bit more obscure, or, you know, a bit vague. And the riffs, and I don't know. I don't even remember rehearsing it. You know, maybe we rehearsed it once. But all those riffs, you know, the guitar riff I played, I just did it. I think that the keyboard riff, maybe, I'm not sure, maybe we overdubbed. I don't even think we overdubbed anything. You know? It's one of those really spectacular, mystical moments, you know? Because it would be great if we had worked on it for 6 months, you know what I mean?
You might have not gotten the same feeling, though.
Yeah, well, it just was one of those, that riff, you know, and the melody he's singing, you know, that just comes from years of just absorbing cool things, you know, and then having them come out, you know. That was just a moment of genius on his part that, you know, you kind of relive it every night now, you know.
I know, I'm still getting chills thinking about it, seeing it, you know, in Pittsburgh, and love the song and the fact that it hasn't really been played that much, you know, but you said it's a real showstopper. I know another one of your favorites off that album of yours is Fade Away.
Yeah. Again, that was our second single, which didn't make it, unfortunately. I just love that whole acoustic 12-string thing, which I got, you know, directly from Keith Richards. You know, congratulations, and you know, his version of Under the Boardwalk, and you know, I always love that thing, you know, and yeah, that's there on Fade Away. I think it's on Marry You. I play it on The River, you know, and it's just real. It's just real, you know. It's a band sounding. You know, it's band sounding songs, you know what I mean? It's just very little overdubs that I can think of. You know, it's a nice thing about having both keyboards. You know, even when you hear a glockenspiel or something like that, it's live. You know, it's you know, he's playing the glockenspiel instead of something else, or he's playing the glockenspiel with the organ sometimes. You know, so you know.
One of the things I really appreciate and love about you is that you're a real historian of not only just rock music, but music. And I think that's so important. I know you produced the Darlene Love record. You ever have any ideas or dreams about putting together like a rock and roll revival show? Like that Rascal show was just amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you saw that. Yeah, I was gonna, for years, I was going to do a Little Stevens and the Disciples of Soul review, you know? And I planned on going out with Darlene and, like, you know, Gary Bonds, Sam Moore, you know, I had so many friends from back then. You know, Benny King, who we just lost, you know, Chuck Jackson, you know. I was going to even try and talk Smokey Robinson into it, you know, and just kind of go out and kind of like what Ringo has been doing, you know, do a couple songs from each, and then, you know, some duets, and you know, for many years we were going to do that. The closest thing we came was kind of the what was it, the 25th anniversary of the Hall of Fame or of Rolling Stone, or is that what it was?
Madison Square Garden, I was there.
Right, when we did, you know, we had like 3 or 4 different guests come on. That was the closest thing to what I had in mind, yeah. But we never really took it on the road, you know. I mean, obviously, but yeah, that would have been fun. Yeah, maybe someday. Who knows? You know,
there's time, and everybody's still alive and up to it. How do you keep your stamina on the road? I mean, because this is a, you know, everybody thinks a rock and roll show, okay, it's just the artist that goes out there, maybe plays an hour and a half. You guys play like 3.5 hours. But it's like you're here ahead of time because you've got rehearsal, I'm sure, and, you know, sound check. How do you keep your stamina throughout the entire tour?
You gotta be a little bit careful, you know. You know, and I haven't been in the best shape these last few tours because I was filming at the same time, and you know, I had gained a lot of weight for the part. You know, I wanted to be that big gangster in Sopranos, and that got carried in a Lilyhammer, and you know, so I'd lose half the weight for the tour, and I'm filming at the same time, so I'm kind of like half a fat gangster and half a out of shape rock and roller, and you kind of like try and get the best of both worlds, but if you're really in shape, you have to be close to in shape anyway. I mean, we're all close, if not in shape, and you have to be for the show. And honestly, sometimes we used to take trainers on the road. I used to take a trainer on the road and work out. But to tell you the truth, the key to life in general is stop eating bread and sugar. Honestly, now can you do that? No, all right, but it's real simple, all right. That's all you got to do, and your whole life will change. Okay, and it's hard to go through one single day. Honest to God, you try and go through one day without eating a piece of bread, and you'll find like it's really difficult. But that's what slows you down. The bread is sugar. It's the same thing. But bread and sugar, if you could just, and we try and avoid those things as much as we can. Sometimes after a show you'll screw up, because you want a reward.
But what about the mental anguish of the road day after day? You're not at home. You don't have your doggy around.
Yeah, you gotta be a different kind of person, I think, to be a real road person. I think that's. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't love it like I used to love it in terms of every day's an adventure and every city's a new city, and you go out there and you get to know the culture and you get to know what's going on and see what's happening. I'm writing and working most of the time now, so I don't really go out much. So in that sense, it's not as much fun as it used to be when you were discovering things, you know what I mean? But you have to have it in your DNA. You gotta be a gypsy. You can't be like a domestic person. You're not gonna make it. You gotta be like, you kind of get it out of your head a little bit, because you stay in contact every day, but she'll sometimes send me a picture of the dog. I'm like, oh, don't do that.
That's the thing that I'd miss my cats. It's like, oh my God.
But I mean, and it's not like the old days either, where you used to go out and stay out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've been away more than maybe 3 weeks at the most. 2-3 weeks, right? And that's okay. You know what I mean? You can do 2 weeks. But in the old days, you could go away for 3 months. That becomes harder. I mean, some people, they had kids and whatever. But so it's not like the old days. But then again, it's not as rigorous as the old days. I mean, you'd play 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 shows a week. And now it's much more leisurely. You do maybe 3 shows a week and flying instead of on a bus, and that stuff helps the stamina. Believe me, real hotel rooms.
Yes.
That don't open. You open the door and the pool's right there. Different kind of rooms than that. But yeah. So it's not. But you got to be a little bit. You got to exercise a bit and watch what you eat, because the older you get, the harder it is, and honestly, those extra pounds really make it difficult. And your challenge is to not be injured. I mean, this is 3.5 hours is a serious show, and it's the same thing whenever I go in the gym to work out. I mean, your challenge is not to be injured. I mean, that's what you got to be, because you want to be, you get enthusiastic, or you want to really, And I try to be, you gotta try and be careful, and you learn through the years. I mean, every time you do a tour, you go and you try and you start getting in shape, and many times, man. The first couple of weeks, you'll get injured by overdoing it. So you learn to sort of pace yourself a little bit, and I think that comes with experience. Just kind of watch it, and I've been finding it useful. What I do is I box, so I try to do something that's more difficult than the show, or close to it. And there's almost nothing more difficult than the show, which is interesting. But boxing is the closest thing because you are constantly moving. And when you're boxing, you do 3 rounds, you can no longer move your legs, and you can't raise your arms, all right? The average person. And you have to do 3 more rounds, You know what I mean? Or 4 more rounds, or 5 more rounds. I got up to 8 rounds. And I mean really, really boxing, moving, and you're constantly moving, And so when you get that, you are completely worn out after 3 rounds, and you have to do 3 more rounds. That's how the show sometimes, it applies very directly to the show. You do the river, and any other band in the world would be saying good night, everybody, okay? Because it feels so definitive, this album, And then we do a 90-minute set after that, and and there's a point where sometimes you start to feel that fatigue, and you just got to fight right through it. You got to just pretend it's not there, and then you get a second wind or whatever, and you got to make it to the end. That's just how it is, man. And it's good. It's good to be forced to do things that are beyond what you think you can do. To go beyond your capabilities. Honestly, it's really, really healthy to be, or else you'd never do it. You would never put yourself through that if you were just home.
Even as a fan, I mean, it's Bruce shouts out several times, you can't take anymore. You cannot take. And honestly, that's the way I think most people in the audience are feeling. And it's and then you keep on going. It's oh my God.
I know. He wants everybody to go home crawling, which is, it's always been that way. It's always been that way. So, but it's nice having a completely crazy guy up front, who's just going to lead you. Let's go up that hill, He's Teddy Roosevelt up that hill every night, And you just follow because, he's doing it. You can't leave him all alone. You gotta watch his back, right? You gotta be there for him. But he's been in just such exceptional shape for many decades now. So that helps. It helps having somebody who's an influence, somebody to really lead the way,
Now, changing the subject real quickly here, this building is being demolished. E Street Band has played here 31 times. I've seen all 31. 34 will be the end of Saturday. I found it really fascinating that John Kennedy took his acceptance speech for the Democratic nomination here back in 1960.
Yeah, somebody just told me that. Yeah. It's amazing, right? You figured, nothing but rodeos and, pig, farmers and pig auctions and Springsteen shows.
But you have any great memories of playing here?
I've always it always felt like one of those places that certain venues are just rock and roll, joints. I mean, you can't really define it. I mean, and this one's pretty obvious. You look around, there's no luxury boxes, none. There's no advertising. There's no, lights. It's, it's a barn. Okay, it's a rock and roll barn. And this is the last rodeo, baby. The last rodeo in the LA Sports Arena. And I think there's something about that. When the conditions are a little bit primitive, I think it brings out the best in rock and roll. You know, it brings out the best in the audience and the best in the band. You know, it's just down to like no frills, man. You know, no distractions. It's you and it's the band and the audience, man. You know, and we've never had much production that's sort of in between. You know what I mean? So we're always kind of real basic anyway. You know, our production's as primitive as you get. You know.
Well, that was so surprising about the Halloween show that was here. I think in 1980 was it when Bruce was carried out in a coffin? You remember that?
That was here, huh?
Yeah, that was here.
Yeah. Well, you know, we sometimes do some shtick. You know, we'll do a little. We'll have a little comedy routine now and then, but that's about the extent of our production. You know, Bruce being carried out in a coffin. You know.
That was good.
$2 coffin or whatever, you know.
Well,
from what's his name? I Put a Spell on You. Yeah.
Stephen J. Hawkins.
We know that guy. Yeah, Stephen J. Hawkins. Thank you.
Yeah. So I know you probably got rehearsal or something to do and somewhere to go, and I don't want to take too much of your time here. But what about the future? What does the future hold for you besides being on the road for the next couple of months?
I got 2 TV shows in development. A big one with HBO, and then a very small one I'm trying to get done. And after that, I mean, it'll be back to TV for sure, one way or the other. I really like TV. I want to create a show this year. That's it. I mean, you know, last year, totally dedicated to Darlene Love, and I'm very proud of that record. I think it's, you know, it's a little bit disappointed it didn't get nominated because I'm quite sure we made the album of the year. You know, there's no doubt about it in my mind, and she's the greatest singer in the world, and we just couldn't get the traction, couldn't get enough people to listen to it. But that doesn't change it for me. You know, it's just one of the great experiences ever. I owed her that record for 30 years, and I finally got it for her, and so I got the record company. You know, so we'll find something to do. You know, usually. This year we're going to put out Richard and the Young Lions, which is this classic, legendary garage band from the '60s. Never made an album, like, I don't know now, 15, 20 years ago, whatever it was. We made an album, and the lead singer died, and we put it on a shelf, and we're finally going to put it out because it's really, really good, and they were great, and had a couple singles in the '60s, and never made an album. So that's going to come out, you know, and there'll be some music, but mostly it's TV for me right now, and. You know, the foundation, I do the meet and greet every night before the show for the foundation, and we're going to be hooking up this year. You know, we're writing a rock and roll curriculum for schools, and working on it for years. And this year we're gonna, you know, it probably won't be out till next year, but we'll spend the next year. We're going to combine with Dave Grohl's thing, Dave's Sonic Highways, which is this terrific show he did for HBO. Well, we're going to incorporate that into the Rock and Roll Forever Foundation curriculum, and add the cities, you know, to the curriculum. So that's going to be exciting for the next year. We'll be working on that, you know, pretty hard. So there's always something, you know, to do.
I can hear it getting really crowded in here, and I'm sure you got to get down to your meet and greet, but I just wanted to stop by and say, hey, thank you again for taking this time. Thanks for the birthday call. That was really special. And thanks for, you know, just giving me so much inspiration, not only musically. I mean, I listened to your stuff, and it's like, how does that guy find the time to listen to all this music, you know, like your underground radio and the Little Steven's Garage and outlaw radio on country. I mean, you listen to a lot of music.
Well, you know, you want to try and, you know, the radio format is very important, and I think, you know, we're the only ones playing rock and roll worldwide now. We're the only ones playing new music, you know. Most classic rock stations don't play new music anymore. We're the only ones playing new music. I mean, not just new bands, which we do, but if nobody played Paul McCartney's last single, which was really good, except us. Ringo Starr's last record was great. We're playing Cheap Trick's new single. It's out this week. It's great. So Joan Jett puts out great records still. So the classic artists are still making great records. We play them, but then we play brand new bands too. We've introduced, I don't know how many, 550 or 600 new bands in the. We've been on now, how long? 14 years. So that remains extremely important. I think, I want to set the standards back up high and play the coolest records ever made so people can have something to shoot for, Well, yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
Like the other night I was hearing you talk about Sinatra, and how Sinatra commanded a room and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I never got to see him, but you know what? I loved hearing those stories. I loved hearing all about that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun that we decided early on we're going to play the greatest music ever made, but also celebrate the culture as well. So most of it's 50s and 60s culture, which is what people are interested in, the most, because that's the Renaissance period. 51 to 71 is a Renaissance. It'll be a Renaissance forever, studied for hundreds of years to come. Not just music, but everything. Politically, socially, economically, media, the arts, and we celebrate the fun stuff. Who invented the first drive-in or the first hot dog or the first surfboard? We have fun with that. But then we connect the dots. We're centered around the British invasion, but we play everything that influenced the British invasion and everything the British invasion has influenced. And so, it's important that people actually can connect those dots and hear the greatest music ever made,
Well, thank you for doing the show. We air it Sunday night at midnight on The Sound, and you can also check it out on Sirius XM and all the other different places. And thank you so much for your time. Off the record, Super Tuesday, polls closed. Any thoughts?
I haven't heard the results, but I could probably guess, huh? Let me guess. Donald winning a few things by any chance?
Except for Ohio.
Kasich did win, right? Yeah. Yeah, well, Rita, I'll tell you the truth. I don't discuss politics anymore because I have learned my lesson. Keep your mouth shut. I said what I needed to say. I did what I needed to do. We got Mandela out of jail. We got South Africa freed. Unfortunately, Leonard Peltier is still in jail. We didn't succeed on that one, but which is a tragedy, ongoing. But I really don't. My political energy now has gone into just keeping rock and roll alive, which is an endangered species. And it's extremely important that it be kept alive because there's nothing like it. And when kids hear our show, I'm sure you get this all the time. I'm like, where'd you find that new kid Eddie Cochran? Or where's that band The Animals? Can I go see them? It's just as exciting to the new generation as it was to us. Unfortunately, most of these people are not around to go see, but some are, and people should go out and see them when they come by. Rock and roll is a participatory sport.
The way you said it, and I credit you on air with saying this, it was definitely the Renaissance period. That's such a beautiful phrase.
Yeah, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I mean, every single month, every 2 months, here's a new group, the Beatles. Here's a new group, Dave Clark 5, the Rolling Stones, the Who. Then the Kinks, then the Hollies, then the Yardbirds, then it's Cream, then Procol Harum, then Jimi Hendrix, the kid Jimi Hendrix, I mean, and one after the other. We thought it would last forever, and of course it didn't. But growing up at that time, and then you had soul music, the greatest, Motown stuff, and Curtis Mayfield, and Sam and Dave with Stax, and Atlantic, and all of these amazing things. And then folk rock comes in, and here's the Byrds, here's a new group. How about this kid Bob Dylan? He's pretty good. You know what I mean? And it was like bam, 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 bam. And while the mass media is becoming the mass media, and and we got civil rights going on, and women's rights, and the environment talk about for the first time, and you know, so you know, yeah, it was a Renaissance period, and that's not counting, you know, all the great movies and books and everything else. So it was one of those things that we were lucky to live through, and the music kind of reflected it all, and you know, we continue to celebrate it, you know, in the Underground Garage.
Thank you again, Stephen.
Thanks, Rita.